don't we start by talking about how you got involved with transformational discipleship?
The very first thing that he did was hand me a draft of a book called Building Cathedrals
Okay.
that had the author, Ted Travis, on it. And so I began journeying through building cathedrals, and it was a very captivating book.
Okay.
And it made me really start thinking about, hey, who am I as a youth leader, and how do I want to lead youth?
How did you, tell me about your experience with transformational discipleship, and particularly with kind of the changes that you went through.
I'm a basketball guy, so I said, hey, I want to do some basketball, I want to do some entertainment stuff, and I want to do some leadership stuff.
Okay.
But then as we started going through chapter by chapter in training every week of building cathedrals, I realized, like, I want to do that. I want to experience what Ted experienced when he wrote this book. And so I scrapped every thought that I had as it relates here to youth ministry, and said, I want to do everything that was written in this book.
Now, I know, there are going to be people looking at this that have their ministry, and they're hearing you say, I scrapped everything. What did you gain? What did you gain from, in a sense, you were starting over? Does a person have to start over in order to do transformational discipleship? And if so, to what extent?
I don't think a person necessarily has to start over, but they have to realize that you have to implement the principles of transformational discipleship in the ministry in order for youth to really experience transformation and growth.
Okay.
And so for me, coming into transformational discipleship, I realized I had no clue on how to run a youth ministry. And I needed direction, and I needed the coaching and the tools to be able to do so. So it made perfect sense for me to say, hey, listen, it's okay for me to set aside some ideas that I had, or thoughts that I had about youth ministry, and actually run with something that actually works, but then shape it around my uniqueness of who I was as a leader.
Okay. When you think about implementing principles, what did you implement that was perhaps something you hadn't thought of before, or something you had gotten from transformational discipleship that says, I need to be focused on this?
I think one of the biggest thing was uniqueness. Define their uniqueness so we can maximize it for its use. And so it allowed me to not focus on the problems that the kids were bringing, but focus on the kid as a person. And really help, and really look at them as far as for who God has created them to be. And then listen to what their aspirations was as where they desired to be as young leaders. And things that they were excited about, what their ideas were. And then one thing that we talked about is, as they share their ideas, my job was to now put meat on those bones. So help to materialize their ideas. So as I'm listening to them, and they're engaging, and they're talking about their felt needs, I'm meeting their felt needs in the ministry context, but then at the same time, in their leadership experience, in the boundaries that we created, they talked about their ideas of how they wanted to lead in ministry or in that perspective, and then me helping that come to fruition. And I think that's where the kids came to life at, because they actually saw their ideas implemented and carried out throughout the process of transformational discipleship experience.
Wow.